October 27th, 2025. This is the NI versus AI podcast. I am your host, Charles Linhart. And by the way, I just want to front load this by saying thank you for listening. I know I have a few listeners now, and if you don't mind, please feel free to leave a review or whatever they say on YouTube, like subscribe and share or whatever, comment. I don't know. I would like that because I haven't really gotten a lot of engagement. Even if you leave a bad review or a nasty comment, I would appreciate that. And that actually dovetails nicely into the topic for today, which is competition and comparison. I was going to save this one until New Year's because I have a little exercise that I like to do on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, which I'll get to later, that essentially reinforces what I'm about to talk about, which is that the only person you really need to compete with is yourself. Think of a runner. A runner, your average jogger, isn't going to compete with the gold medal decathlete at the Olympics in the 10K. They're not even going to compete with the bronze medal winner, but they can compete with themselves. They can try to make their time better, and that's a good sort of image to reinforce what I'm talking about. The only person you should be competing with is yourself. Likewise with comparison, if you're comparing yourself to other people, you're either doing it out of a, really false sense of ego, like, I'm better than all these people. Oh, the worst people are like that. Like that guy that, hangs out with a bunch of losers, but drives a BMW, so, he can look down on all his friends or all his so-called friends, and all his so-called friends will look up at him, and they don't even know that he can barely make the payments on it or whatever. So if you're going to compare yourself with other people, compare yourself to the people who are above you, because no matter how good looking you are, no matter how rich you are, no matter what your measure of comparison, there are plenty of people out there who are better looking, richer. You think you're the best looking guy in the room, and then George Clooney walks in. Oh, well, I don't know, Bradley Cooper or somebody. You think you're really rich because you made your first 10 million, and then you realize, oh, crud, that barely doesn't even buy me one mansion in Malibu, and there are people who have 10 of those. So, if you're comparing yourself to other people, you're always going to fall short, or you're going to be in this egoic place of comparing yourself to the people who are under you, which is about the worst thing you can do for your own development. So, like a good example here, I like to play chess. I'm an okay chess player, probably in the 80th percentile or so, which means 80% of the people who play chess I can beat most of the time. But those 20% who are way better than I am will absolutely crush me. So if I want to become a better chess player, then I need to compare myself with the 20% who are better than I and compete with the 20% who are better than I. If I go on chess.com and set my level to, beginner, and then I crush all these beginners in 8 moves, checkmate, 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 and that might feed my ego a little bit, but it's not going to make me a better chess player. If I want to become a better chess player, then I need to set my settings to advanced, get my butt whooped over and over and over again, and hope that at some point I play with someone who in the chat will, give me some pointers. And usually people who are good at things will be happy to mentor you. They won't be insecure about it. That's kind of one of the... So anyway, if you're going to compare yourself to other people or compete with other people, then compare and compete with people who are better than you. So, let's say your thing is money. A lot of people, that's their thing. It's like, I measure myself by, my net worth. And personally, I think that's a really crappy way to measure yourself, but no judgment. It's how people are, I guess. So are you going to be that guy with the Beamer and the loser friends? Remember, you are the company you keep. So if you're surrounded by a bunch of losers and scumbags, you're probably a loser and scumbag yourself. So what you should probably do instead is take the money that you're going to spend on the Beamer, get yourself some tennis lessons, or, take up a hobby that rich people do, because then you'll be able to hobnob with the rich. If you can afford a BMW, you can probably afford, tennis lessons, or to join a tennis club, or you can afford, I don't know, a set of golf clubs and, a few rounds at a nice golf course a few times a month, or a sailboat. My thing is sailing. I love sailing, not because it's a rich man's hobby, but because I love the feeling of, the challenge of moving an 8-ton vessel through the sea at, under the power of the wind. I mean, that's just a thrilling feeling for me. And so I'm into sailing, and, you hang around marinas and yacht clubs enough, and, you're going to meet some people who have much fancier boats, and you're going to strike up conversations with them. But you see, there's a right way and a wrong way to do this, because upper echelon, wealthy people, they kind of have a sixth sense, like they can smell money, and if you're in there, trying to fake it till you make it, they're going to sniff that shit out in 2 seconds. So it's better to approach it the same way you would with a chess master, like humbly, like, I'm going to get my ass kicked here. I remember one conversation I had, I kept my boat in a yacht club yard over the winter. And, in the spring, everyone would come out and, start working on their boats and getting ready for the season. And I had as it happens, like a really nice boat. People who know boats know that, my boat was like a classic beauty, and she was in really good condition. And anyway, so this guy comes up and he's like, wow, what a beautiful boat, like CNC 35. He's like, I sailed to Bermuda on one of these things one time, and da-da-da-da. He's like, I love your, the way you've got your spreaders, rigged up. Or so we start talking boat shit, and I'm like, I'm sure. So you play it humble, just like you do with the chess master. You go, she needs a new Jenny. And he's like, should be able to get a decent 120, 150 for, 5. God, I hate these kids with those loud-ass cars. It's really rude. Anyway, he's like, you should be able to get a nice 120, 150 for, I don't know, like 5-6 grand. I'm like, self-deprecating humor. I'm not rich like you, 5,000 or 6,000 is a substantial expense for me. And he's like, anyway, so kind of became friends. Even I went sailing with this guy a few times. You really get to know people well when you sail with them, because you're kind of on a team. You've got the same goal, which is to get the vessel flying on water. So, if your thing is money and you want to get money, then ingratiate yourself with rich people. And what you'll find is a lot of times they're super, super duper willing to mentor you. Don't approach with something like, I got this great business idea or whatever, because again, they hear that shit all the time, and they'll just roll their eyes and like another plebe con man trying to get, separate me from my money. But if you ask in earnest, like, hey, Bob, like, how did you do it? Sometimes they'll say, oh, well, my family's pretty rich, and, I went to Harvard, and then you'll go, oh, geez, well, it's over for me. I don't come from money, and I didn't go to Harvard, and, but usually not. A lot of you'll be surprised. Like, a lot of people are self-made. And one thing I've heard from ultra high net worth people, meaning, 100 million and above, is they'll say, well, when I started, I wasn't even thinking about money. I just had this idea, and I was passionate about it, and I worked at it night and day, and the money came eventually. You know, that's a really common thing, at least with business people and artists, and probably with athletes too. I would imagine elite athletes are very passionate about their sports. I think you'd have to be, in addition to being a freak of nature in terms of your physique. But again, you know, generally speaking, you shouldn't be competing with people and comparing yourself with people. The only person you need to compete with or compare yourself with is yourself. And that brings me to my New Year's exercise. So I celebrate New Year's a little differently from most people. I generally don't party on New Year's Eve, or if I do, I keep it very low-key. Even in a celebratory environment, I'll be the guy who's picking your keys out of your pocket so you can't drive home from the party, you know? But my ritual on New Year's is, on New Year's Eve, I'll clean my place, or spick and span everything, kitchen, bathroom, floors, wash the sheets, do all my laundry. I like to wake up on New Year's Day in a clean, healthy, fresh environment. And typically what I do on New Year's Day is I go down to, the last 5 New Year's is I've been in a place that had a beach, so I would go down to the beach, get coffee, take out my journal, and ask myself, where was I a year ago today? And then by various metrics, I'll evaluate my life and say, okay, well, I was better off in this department, but worse off in that department, and I made some progress here, but I might have backslid there. And what do I need to do this year? And then I write a list of goals for the year. And, the following year I'll revisit that entry. And I have a special notebook for this. Did I meet my goals? No? Okay, well, let's try it this way this year then. And so, if you do, of course, competition is healthy, right? I mean, what are games? What is chess? It's a competition by nature. Sports, it's a competition. Business, it's a competition. Life is, to an extent, a competition, but you'll find that the people who compete at the highest levels are those who compete most intensely with themselves, or who are the most passionate about what they're doing. Like, nobody ever got rich by buying themselves a BMW and dating a bunch of gold-digging skanks, Nobody ever got rich by looking at rich people and going, oh, those damn rich people, they don't deserve anything. Nobody ever became a great chess player by, playing people at their level or below, and so on. So if you're going to compare yourself to anybody or compete with anybody, do it with people who are better than you, and do it humbly with the intention of, it's good to stroke their ego a little bit. Bob, I'm not as rich as you. I can't afford a new Jenny right now, even though it's only $5 or $6 grand. It's a lot of money for me to lay out for a sale, especially when I have one that works for now. I did end up getting that Jenny, by the way. I came across one that was really nice, carbon fiber, probably like a $7,000 sale. It was like $1,200, brand new, hadn't even been used, so I couldn't resist it. So that's another thing, sometimes your own, wherever you think you're inadequate, recognizing that inadequacy, I need a new Jenny, will put the universe in motion to bring it to you. God, I miss that boat. She was a true classic beauty. She had run the Newport to Bermuda 3 times, placed once. She had run the Rolex. She had run the Martha's Vineyard a couple times. I mean, she was fast. She was beautiful on the water. People who knew boats, like Bob, were always really impressed with my boat. And people who didn't, I don't really care what they think anyway. I hope they had a good time. But you see, I knew when I bought diazepam that she wasn't going to, impress people like that. You know, I didn't buy her because she was impressive. I bought her because she was beautiful and I loved her. And God, I missed that boat. Against my better judgment, I'm probably going to end up getting another boat next year or sometime soon. Maybe a slightly smaller one. So, you see, competing with myself here. It's like, all right, well, that boat was beautiful, but she was a little, much for you to handle on your own. I did single hand her, but not without great effort. I want something I could just go out and sail by myself. So, competing with myself. Next time I'm gonna, I know what I have a better idea of what I'm after. So compete and compare with yourself. And if you are going to compete and compare with others, do it with people who you know are superior to you in some way. They're better chess players, they're better sailors, they're better, they have more money, whatever, you are the company you keep. Anyway, so that's all I have to say. Again, if you don't mind, please feel free to leave a review, leave a comment. I mean, I know that this thing is spread out over 20 different platforms, but I do have like an aggregator that goes through and gets stuff from all the different platforms. So if you're listening on Spotify, whatever, or Apple Music or Castbox or whatever, just, review it there, leave a comment. I'd really appreciate it. And it sounds like I'm seeking external validation, which I guess I am. But if you like what I'm saying here and it's helping you, feel free to let me know. If you don't like what I'm saying, feel free to let me know, because that's how you get better. Chuck, you sucked. I hate what you said about this. Okay, all right, then that's your opinion. Maybe I'll shout you out in my next episode and say, oh, Joe Commenter said he disagreed with whatever, and I'll try to refine my argument a little bit. That's how you get better. See? So, yeah. Anyway, I hope that you have a productive and joyful day, and that you're pursuing your passion, and that you are becoming better. And I will see you next time. Again, this has been the NI versus AI podcast, and I am your host, Charles Lenart. Peace.